Hi everyone, and welcome back to Butchery 101. I'm Christina Glenoga, and today we're going to talk about my favorite chef's knives. I already did a review of my favorite butcher knives and fillet knives, so go ahead and hit that video up. I'm going to put the thing here or maybe over here. And I know you're thinking, like, a butcher, why would you need a chef knife? But I'm here to let you know that there's so much more to butchery than just cutting meat. Obviously, we're not only eating meat, so we do need to be cutting vegetables and garnish, inlay for pâtés and side dishes. And even when you are cutting meat, sometimes fillet or boning knives just aren't the right tool. I've definitely cut a lot of steak tartare by hand with these exact knives that I'm about to tell you guys about. I also feel like knives are sometimes presented as like an intimidating thing. Like, some chefs and butchers are like a little bit snobby about what knives that they use, and it's I get like a really like boys with their toys kind of vibe about it. But these are my favorite, and I bought them all within my first 2 to 3 years of professional cooking and butchering. One of them, in fact, was a required knife by my culinary school, and so that shows you how basic it is. And it literally is like still my workhorse knife in my current kitchen. I personally don't really enjoy the idea of like super expensive or high maintenance knives. I am somebody who, when I find something that I love and adore, I really want to hold on to it and like use it for a long time. And like, if it requires repair or maintenance, like I would rather just do that than have to replace it. Think of these knives as more of like a capsule set of knives, like a capsule wardrobe, where you do spend a little bit more on individual items that are really high quality and will last for a long time, that only take like a little bit of repair over the years and will still last you for years. Feel free to drop any questions that you have in the comments below, but let's go ahead and talk about my favorite knives. Number 1 is the WSUTHOF Classic. I think this is in the Icon line. It's a 10-inch with no bolster, which I actually have had a little bit of trouble finding this exact model online, but I've linked the closest model down in the description for you below. This one was 10 inches, but the closest one I could find is a 9-inch, which I think would work just as well. They do run pretty close to $200. When I bought mine, it was a requirement for culinary school to have like a large chef's knife. And so when I was shopping for it, it was, I was really new to cooking. I made sure to choose a knife that had a handle that felt really good in my hand and would achieve the things that school and my job at the time would have asked of me. So full disclosure, when you go buy your first set of knives in culinary school, they tell you to have about $500 set aside for your entire knife kit. And so $200, like, I'd already committed to spending a few $100s on this expense and this investment. So just full disclosure. But if you were to judge your purchases by cost per use and functionality, I would say that all 3 of these purchases, this one especially, were wild successes. The length and the weight of this knife make it really great for like large hard produce like butternut squash and watermelons, or like large blocks of cheese that are like kind of hard to get through. If you do find yourself trying to split anything, like any of these bits of produce, and you feel like you need to hold the other side of the knife, like the tip of the knife, please do fold up a towel and use it to protect your hand by the tip of your knife. Like, it's the severity of injury that you could sustain from improper knife use is not worth cutting up a watermelon. It's just not. I chose a non-bolstered knife because bolsters are this like kind of thicker piece of metal at the base of your knife where the blade meets the handle, and a lot of people like it because it's supposed to provide like protection for your fingers, and it's supposed to like provide like a resting place for your fingers so that you don't like slip and like cut yourself accidentally. But I went without a bolster because when you have that on there, it's really hard to sharpen it all the way down. Like, the sharpening process will not take away the bolster part, and so you'll end up with this like really weirdly shaped knife after a few years. Whereas if it doesn't have the bolster and you're sharpening your knife after a few years, it'll wear evenly the entire way down the knife. Just a side note real quick about sharpening. Typically when you sharpen a knife, it means that you're removing a little bit of metal from the edge to reshape the edge so that it's sharp again. Over, some time, like if you've had a knife for like 10 years and you've had to sharpen it, like maybe however many times over that 10 years, you will be taking a little bit of metal off of the knife every single time. And so like you can see in like longtime chef and butchers, like they'll have in their knife kit oftentimes one knife that they've just had forever and ever and have always been sharpening, and it'll be like really thin. It'll almost look like a needle at that point. So anyway, that's one of the things that you can tell about the age of people's knives. Speaking of sharpening, I actually really love to sharpen this guy. At one point in my career, I was kind of obsessed with sharpening my own knives, kind of like a rugged individualism kind of thing. So I would show up to school early and sharpen knives and like get private lessons from my chef instructors. I would also like rush to get all of my mise en place and prep done early so I could steal a couple of minutes before service to actually like sharpen my knife during school. I got a lot of practice on this particular knife and I love it to pieces. It's a really great baseline for learning how to sharpen. It was also super nice because I feel like I can always bring it back to life, even if it, if I had to like abuse it a little bit to like cut through something like really, really tough. And then, I wouldn't be worried about having to bring it back because I could always just sharpen it again. It's also stainless steel. Actually, all of the knives I'm going to talk about today are stainless steel, and it makes it super low maintenance. You have to like try to damage stainless steel and get it to rust because, and I'm not saying that I haven't gotten stainless steel to rust. I have in fact seen one of my knives get rusty because it's just very negligent about it, but it is hard to do. And so, I'm not somebody who wants to spend a lot of time like polishing, or I just know that I'm not responsible enough to make sure that my knives are bone dry at the end of service, or oil them every time I use them, or even like remember to avoid cutting acidic foods, which like some metals don't do well with acidic foods. Like I can't keep track of that. I just want to have a knife that is sharp and will do the job that I need to get done and have like minimal maintenance thereafter. Hi fam, I'm going to take a quick moment right now to talk about a project I'm really excited about. The Butchery 101 live stream series. I go live every Tuesday around midday Pacific Standard Time, and I break down the previous week's news in meat and agriculture. And I'd love to see you all there. If you can't make it to the live stream, I do always post the recording later in the same day, so you can watch it whenever. It's super important that as consumers of meat, or anything really, that we try to be as informed as possible. As the great Maya Angelou once said, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. Butchery 101 is literally built upon this foundational wisdom. Plus, it might be hard to believe, but our daily meat eating experience is greatly affected by tons of factors out there in the world. And those change pretty much day to day. That's why I'd like to take some time once a week to talk about the current events in the meat world. Sometimes I'll be able to draw a clear through line from these obscure events to your own dinner table, and sometimes we'll just be talking about the meat events to keep up with what's going on out there. Again, the live stream happens every Tuesday around midday Pacific Standard Time, and I would love to see you all there. If you can't make it, I totally understand. Feel free to hit up the recording on my page. And now, back to the show. The second knife we're going to talk about today is by Global, and that's a Japanese company. This one is called the Global Asian Chef Knife, and it has the same shape as the WSUTHOF that I was just talking about, so it's really great for like slicing and chopping and mincing. A really good like workhorse knife. It's like super versatile. It's on sale currently for about $99. Normally apparently retailed at $125. I can't remember if it was this one or my other Global that I'm about to talk about later that I got from a classmate, I think I got this one used from a classmate during culinary school for about $60. But knowing what I know now about this knife and how much I ended up using it, I would have happily paid the $99 or $124 that are listed as retail prices. The length is perfect for almost all of your needs, and it stores super easily. When I was a line cook, we would set up our stations, our individual stations, to like start cooking or start doing knife work, and every station you would fold up a little towel and have like your selection of knives that you think you're going to be needing for the day. And having a smaller knife like this to be able to do really like the wide variety of tasks that a smaller chef knife can perform was really great, because it didn't take up a lot of room on my station, and so it was just like extra efficient. The handles are relatively small, so it's really great for like, you know, relatively small hands like mine. And again, stainless steel, so it's super duper low maintenance. This was the knife that I kind of let get rusty, and again, it's not my finest moment. But even though I let it get rusty, like you can still scrub it off and she's fine. Like I still use her to this day. The third knife is my global hollow ground vegetable knife. It's suggested for about $129 on the website. My favorite application for this particular knife is making citrus supremes. When you get the sharpness perfect, the supremes just roll out of the fruit. Like they don't even want to be in there. Now technically this is called like a vegetable knife, but obviously you can use it for whatever you want. I do think that it does well with vegetables, especially with the gratin edge. That's those little divots that you see along the sharp edge, and those creates a little gap between your knife and the food, and so that the food does not suction onto your knife. It's super useful, especially for something like, say, potato, or if you're like cutting like cooked meat, also tartare, so that the slices of food don't just stick to your knife and like slow you down. Stainless steel, again, super duper low maintenance. You just have to make sure to wash and dry it at the end of use. And then the shorter blade, plus the fact that it has a square tip, makes it extra easy to pack and bring with you if you just need the one knife for like, say, a picnic or a hike. It's super easy to pack, and you don't have to worry about like a pointy tip like poking out of your bag and like stabbing you in the leg, which is definitely something that has happened to me when I was coming home from a cooking competition. It was so annoying. So yeah, this guy will pack in your bag really easily. You put like a knife guard on him, and then you really don't have to worry about it. I hope this helps y'all find a good and useful knife for your kitchen, and one that you can love and use for years like I did. Again, I still use these knives to this day, and I'm able to sharpen them myself, and even if I do have to take them to somebody to get sharpened, they're not super expensive because they're not huge and they're not very high maintenance. Let me know if you have any questions, and also your knife recommendations down in the comments below. Hit subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this, and yeah, have a great week. Hope to see y'all on Tuesday for news. Bye.